Beware of the Ides of March. No oracle needed to warn French conservative presidential candidate François Fillon. He got word of a summons from an investigating magistrate to answer questions on March 15th, 2 days before the deadline to submit candidacies for the presidential election. All of France held its breath earlier when he suddenly postponed his tour of the Paris Agriculture Fair, instead conferring a lunchtime press statement after a morning of frenzied phone calls. After pledging to stay in the race while honoring the magistrate's summons, it was on to the Ag Fair. But it's not business as usual. Already one of his primary rivals has quit his campaign. A coalition party says it's suspending its support. Will he be charged, or can he bounce back after revelations that his British-born wife and 2 of their children earned big money on his parliamentary payroll without anyone seeing them do any actual work? 24 hours earlier, it was far-right leader Marine Le Pen at the same Ag Fair. She's also embroiled in a payroll scandal, this one at the European Parliament. And until her immunity is lifted, she's flatly refusing to answer the questions of French police over the hiring of her chief of staff and her personal bodyguard as EU staff members. Fillon seemed to be taking a dig at Le Pen when he said at least he was cooperating. Cooperating even though he too has parliamentary immunity, cooperating even though he too thinks he's a victim of a political vendetta. How will this latest storm impact the race? Also, how will it impact France as a whole and the way it sees its politicians? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at Fillon saying he won't yield. With us, he hails from Fillon's Les Républicains party, Bruno Bernard.
Hello.
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks as well to Bruno Bernard, who's Deputy Chief of Staff, I should say, for the Mayor of the 9th arrondissement of Paris. Back in 2007, Franck Tapirault played campaign strategist to then candidate Nicolas Sarkozy. Today, you're staying out of it.
Oh, yeah.
You're ahead
Since 2007.
Since 2007.
After a victory, it's better.
Okay. You finished on a high. The head of PR and consulting firm Hémisphère Droit. How would you translate that?
Right brain.
Right brain.
Or the right hemisphere. But the right brain has 2 meanings. It's the good brain and the right hemisphere. So okay. I prefer this translation.
The perception of politicians, the perception of the race, will also be asking communication strategist Albéric Guigou, CEO of Reputation Squad. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
And journalist Alexis Poulain, co-founder of the online magazine Le Monde Moderne, The Modern World.
It is The Modern World.
Like the song by The Jam.
Yeah, it's all about fake news, alternative facts. And we have actually a section called fiction, because I think nowadays fiction will tell more than news about the world we live in.
All right, we're going to sort fact from fiction now, and you can too. On Facebook and Twitter, the hashtag F24debate. For a few hours, the wildest rumors were flying. In the end, though, the candidate who has slipped to 3rd in the polls made it clear that after those phone calls with primary rivals Alain Juppé and Nicolas Sarkozy, that François Fillon was the only game in town, and that it's all political.
I will hold myself accountable only to the French people, because only the people and not an investigation seeking to condemn me can decide who will be the next president of the Republic. I will not yield. I will not give in, and I won't quit. Yes, I will be a candidate for the presidency, and we will take the good with the bad to find the strength to win and to take the country forward.
All right, before we ask our panel about Fillon's defense, a reminder that in fact, it's the 2nd time since the Penelope Gate scandal broke in January that he's had to clear the air. Alexander Alcott has more.
The scandal began on January the 25th. A small headline in the Canard Enchaîné started a political storm. The weekly newspaper alleged that François Fillon's wife, Penelope, had been paid over €500,000 over 6 years as his parliamentary assistant, despite not actually doing any work. The financial prosecutor opened an inquiry into the misuse of public funds. The affair was soon dubbed Penelope Gate. Adding to the scandal, Mrs. Fillon was accused of being paid to work at the literary journal La Revue de Deux Mondes. She earned €100,000 over 18 months, although again there was no evidence that she ever did any work there. Meanwhile, the French media reported that the journal's billionaire owner was awarded France's highest honour, the Légion d'honneur, in part payment for Mrs. Fillon's job. The scandal deepened when it emerged that François Fillon had also paid 2 of his adult children using state funds.
From time to time, when I was a senator, it so happened that I hired 2 of my children for specific projects because of their expertise as lawyers.
Once again, there were holes in his story. Marie and Charles Fillon were just law students in their early 20s when they were paid tens of thousands of euros of taxpayers' money. After the Fillon family, Fillon's business interests. The embattled politician faced allegations of conflict of interest involving his consulting business, De F. Conseil. He was also accused of hiring one of his parliamentary staffers to be part of his presidential campaign, a clear violation of French electoral rules. Early on, Fillon was the clear favourite to win the French presidency. He had put himself forward as a clean-cut, family-oriented politician who would slash public spending. He's always denied any wrongdoing and initially said he would quit the presidential race if he was ever charged with anything. But now, despite a charge pending and him and his family due to be questioned by the police, he's defiantly vowed to fight on.
Yeah, that initial statement, Bruno Bernard, where he said, if ever I'm put under formal investigation, I'll throw in the towel. That's gotten the one of his nomination rivals, Bruno Le Maire, to now say he won't support Fillon. He's one of those defecting this Wednesday. What did you think when the day began? How did you think the day would go?
That he would quit.
You thought he would quit?
Yeah. I didn't see the point of cancelling the visit to the Agriculture Fest. It meant that it was going to be a judicial problem, that he would end up before a judge. And I was sticking to what he said previously, that he would withdraw from the race if he would be summoned by a judge.
Last night when you went to bed, were you a François Fillon supporter?
I was, yeah.
And today?
Slightly less. Slightly less. It's just that, as it was said in the report that it's been 2 times that he had to clear the air, and from speaking from a Républicain point of view, there's no campaign going on. Nothing is happening on the ground, and it's been like that for 2 months. So we can't carry on like that. That's all.
No campaign going on? Is that because of the scandal or just the way that the campaign's been managed?
Because the only subject, of course, is this scandal, this fake job scandal. And it looks really like in a serial in Netflix, but Fillon has been in Netflix because every day there's a new episode. In Netflix, it's prepared years before or months before. Each day there's a new episode. I'm totally agree with you. I thought this morning that with the cancellation of the visits to the Salon de l'Agriculture, François Fillon maybe decided to stop and to say and to do exactly what he said. But now maybe the new scenario is different. Maybe he knows perfectly that the presidential are lost. But there is a second election in France, much more important, the legislative election.
Yeah, those will be held in June, 1 month
Exactly.
after the presidential race.
And I'm sure that he made this scenario that if Macron or Le Pen wins the election, he knows perfectly that it won't have the majority on the legislative. So maybe he is winning. He wants to win the legislative election and say, maybe I'm going to stay, I'm going to put all the deputies together, for the second one. But even this, if the scenario is a bad scenario, because the confidence has been lost. So I don't understand what happens here.
The party, Les Républicains, is divided with the
Exactly.
Fillon candidacy, so it's not even a strategy there.
Exactly.
Because if you are from the party and you looking to be a candidate for the legislative,
Exactly.
having a presidential candidate like Fillon is a burden. It's not a chance. And most of the people in Les Républicains, they hide their, they don't speak out, but clearly there is a ground movement coming in and saying, we can't keep on like that. And surely there'll be more twists in the coming days, but he's not supported by his party, just like Hamon is not supported by Le PS. So we have 2 candidates that are not supported by their parties.
Not supported by their mainstream parties.
No.
Is it the death of the candidates or the death of the parties?
The death of the parties. And that's why we end up with this. I think that the problem is we have the primaries first. And France is not made to work like this. The big parties used to work because it was about trades, about talks for months, saying, okay, you do this and I do that, and then we work. And now you put the cameras in and you tell people to be this right, this left, and make sure that the camera look at you and say what you believe, and be to the core of what is the right, what is the left. You end up with a candidate that is not the natural candidate, and then the affairs comes in, and we had this with Dominique Strauss-Kahn back in the times.
All right, Albert Guigou, here you have a guy who surged during those primaries of the center-right. He ran as the integrity candidate, as the guy who is, as he put it himself, I've never been under indictment, a dig he took at his two main rivals, the former president Nicolas Sarkozy and the former prime minister Alain Juppé. When the steady drip of scandal begins, could he have handled things differently?
Well, it's easy to say yes, but I don't think so. I think he was, from the beginning of the scandal, he was doomed. Because he, as you said, he campaigned based on the fact that he was a statesman and on the fact that he was not a crook and he was the only one never been accused of anything. So his line of defense now is to attack the institutions, to attack the judge, to attack the police even. You can do that if you are Marine Le Pen because everybody thinks you're against everything. But when you are trying to be the statesman, you cannot do that. So now there is no way out for him.
But we've seen Nicolas Sarkozy repeatedly attack magistrates as being politically biased.
Yeah, but that didn't work in the long run because people have now a long-lasting memory. And the way the opinion shapes based on YouTube, based on social media, they remember stuff and they can go and check.
Yeah,
and
exactly. Memory, yeah.
You cannot play with them as you used to.
All right, ever since the outgoing president, François Hollande, announced that he would not even be seeking a second term, he's been mostly mum about the campaign. However, this Wednesday, after Fillon's statement, Hollande put out one of his own saying that a candidate to the presidential election no way authorizes one to throw suspicion on the work of police and judges, to foster a climate of defiance incompatible with the spirit of responsibility, and worse yet, to make extremely grave accusations against our judicial system and more broadly, our institutions. Bruno Bernard, you agree with that?
Not really, because, I mean, you have to remember how the whole thing started. It came from a press article that started the investigation, an investigation that has worked so efficiently that no one in France has ever seen the judicial system work that fast. So I think François Fillon is, although I don't agree with what he's doing now, is receiving a special treatment because he is a presidential candidate. And the thing is that judges are interfering in the presidential election this year.
Let me play devil's advocate here. Isn't it a good thing that he's under more scrutiny? After all, he could be the next president of France.
Well, he was the prime minister of France and he wasn't put under that scrutiny at that time. So, something must be either they were broken in past years or they've been mended. But the thing is that he's not allowed to do a political campaign because of that.
I think the world changed, and that's what it is. It's going fast, maybe because we need transparency. Maybe all his speech was about being transparent, being the candidate of I will not be like the others. I will.
So he's treated that way because
he's treated because it's the first time now we run this campaign, and now we're in the age of the internet where we're all adults. It's not that we're discovering.
Well, you remember what happened to Jérôme Cahuzac, former budget minister.
Former budget minister.
How long did it take?
A year or two. And same with Nicolas Sarkozy. He's got still many affairs on the pipe. But here it's going fast because we're during the campaign, and I think it's important that it's going fast. But I would like to see the same treatment for Marine Le Pen and the same scrutiny for all candidates.
Even if you leave the judges aside, I believe the opinion has made its mind already.
He's guilty in the court of public opinion.
Because they've seen the papers, they've seen the wages, they know everything. They don't need a judge.
it's not a political problem. From the beginning, it's not a political problem. It's an emotional problem. And even the first time that François Fillon came on television to say it's not true and to give all this evidence, it's a wrong strategy. Why? Because even if it's legal, people think that it's totally unacceptable.
Yeah, people have said that it's not so much the fact that he hired his wife and kids. They're complaining about the fact that at one point she had a salary of 7,000 euros a month. It's the numbers that matter.
It's not only the numbers. I don't agree with this. It's only the feeling people have that there are people that are the power to give some jobs to their families, to their friends, and no one in France has the same chance than François Fillon's wife and children. So it's a problem really of, I can't bear this. Even if it's legal, I can't bear this. And François Fillon, at this particular time, was not linked to the emotion of all the people who were surprised of that. And I think that if he would have said on the first time, okay, even if it's legal, now I understand, maybe it's totally unacceptable for you. It's totally out of what you can bear, what you can stand from the politicians you hate now. So maybe I made a mistake, even if it's legal. At this point, you make understand the people that you understand what they feel. So it's not a problem of politicians, a problem of jurisdiction, a problem of legal, a problem of judges. This is bullshit. People are feeling that he is guilty and he made nothing to make them understand.
He's out of touch?
Feel that he understood what they feel.
I mean, he's asking people for sacrifice. He's telling poor people that, no, it will be very difficult to get help from the state and that there'll be cuts in everything. And he's living the life out of the state, out of the money that we citizens pay, and saying,
well, they all
actually,
are. They all are. I mean,
all of them.
You can't blame Fillon for that. I mean,
but you can blame
he's a millionaire, and he's asking for the same cuts.
You can blame the politician system and saying, when he was senators, François Fillon was barely there at the Senate, and he just voted for 2 laws. And you say, why is the French legislative system costing so much to the French taxpayers? Do we need that many people in the Senate, in the Assembly, doing nothing but campaigning for themselves to be re-elected? There is an issue here, is why do we have this system in place? And all candidates
You
are
sound
not
like
doing the
Marine Le Pen on
anti-system. No, I'm coming to her. Marine Le Pen is perfectly the illustration of this system. She's made a career out of this public money in European Parliament, so we don't see it as much as we see it in France. But professional politicians are the issue.
All right, we're going to pick up on Marine Le Pen, why the mud is sticking to Fillon and not to the far-right leader. When we come back, you're watching the France 24 debate.